You've probably heard about the Amish, living off the grid, working the land by hand, and staying far away from modern shortcuts. But what most people don't know is that their gardens aren't just quaint. They're incredibly efficient, resilient, and full of time-tested secrets passed down for generations. No chemicals, no power tools, just raw knowledge, smart timing, and deep respect for the earth. In this video, we're diving into 20 lesser-known Amish gardening techniques that actually work, and that you can start using today, no matter where you live. From manure-heated beds to rabbit-powered compost, these are real methods from real Amish communities that are rarely shared outside their circle. Let's get into it. Number 1. The heated manure bed. When it comes to starting seeds early, even before winter has truly left the landscape, Amish gardeners rely on an age-old trick, the heated manure bed. This technique is both simple and effective, and it shows how deep their connection is to biological processes in the soil. Here's how it works. Around January or February, while snow might still blanket the ground and the air is bitterly cold, they construct a wooden box or frame directly on the earth. Into this box goes about 12 inches, 30 centimeters of fresh horse manure. Nothing aged or composted. Why fresh? Because as it breaks down, it generates a considerable amount of heat. Over that, they layer a few inches of rich compost or soil, the kind that's been aged and is full of life. Finally, they place a glass cover on top, either a real pane of glass or a salvaged window frame. What happens next is kind of magical. The manure begins to decompose, heating the soil from below. Temperatures inside the box can stay around 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius, even when the outside temperature is well below freezing. That heat trapped by the glass creates a mini greenhouse effect. It's just enough to get tomato or pepper seeds germinating weeks ahead of schedule. Seedlings get a strong early start while the rest of the world is still in hibernation. By the time the soil outside is ready for planting, those seedlings are already well on their way. It's like getting a head start on the entire season without using any electricity or artificial heat. Just biology, timing, and a little bit of clever engineering. This practice also allows Amish farmers to stagger planting and harvesting, leading to a longer, more productive growing cycle overall. Number 2. Straw bale cold frame. Sometimes the simplest setups are the most efficient, and that's exactly the case with the Amish straw bale cold frame. While modern gardeners may invest hundreds of dollars in greenhouse structures, the Amish often rely on leftover materials and clever arrangements to get similar results. The straw bale cold frame is essentially a temporary mini greenhouse made with 4 tightly packed straw bales and an old window or pane of glass. These 4 bales are arranged into a square or rectangle directly on the soil, forming walls that are about knee height. The center of this frame is filled with soil or compost, and the glass window is laid flat across the top, acting as a lid. This setup traps solar heat during the day and retains some of it through the night, creating a pocket of warmth that protects young seedlings from frost and chilly winds. The thick straw also acts as natural insulation, shielding the inner soil from harsh temperature drops. This method is especially useful for leafy greens like lettuce or spinach, which can tolerate cooler temperatures but still benefit from some added protection. In many Amish gardens, this cold frame is enough to extend the growing season by 6 to 8 weeks, getting lettuce on the table earlier in spring and later into the fall. It's also an incredibly resourceful use of materials that are readily available and biodegradable. Plus, once the frame is no longer needed, the straw can be composted or used as mulch, leaving nothing to waste. What makes this method truly effective is its low-tech approach. It doesn't require construction skills or power tools, just some straw, a window, and a basic understanding of how to trap warmth using nature's own materials. Number 3. Earth clamp storage. One of the biggest challenges in off-grid living is food preservation, especially keeping root vegetables fresh without refrigeration. Amish farmers have long used a method called the earth clamp or klempe, which is essentially a buried root cellar made entirely from natural materials. In autumn, after harvesting carrots, beets, turnips, and other hardy vegetables, they begin by selecting a well-drained patch of soil. They dig a shallow pit or simply use the surface of the ground to build a conical pile of roots, layering the vegetables carefully to avoid bruising. Once the basic mound is shaped, each layer is alternated with a cushion of dry straw, which helps insulate and absorb moisture. After the pyramid is built up to the desired height, they add another thick layer of straw to cover the entire pile. Finally, the whole mound is sealed with several inches of earth, forming a dense cap that keeps out light, air, and pests. Sometimes a small ventilation pipe or a stone is added at the top to allow for air exchange. This structure holds a surprisingly stable internal temperature, often staying just above freezing, but never cold enough to damage the stored produce. What's incredible is that this method can preserve root crops all the way through winter, sometimes until March, without any electricity at all. When they need vegetables, they simply dig into the side of the clamp and take what they need, then reseal the hole. It's a simple, time-tested method that combines thermal mass, insulation, and natural materials to create an off-grid refrigeration system. Not only does it keep food fresh, but it also prevents the loss of flavor and nutrients that sometimes comes with artificial cold storage. Number 4, Manure Tea for cucumbers. One of the most iconic Amish fertilizers isn't something you buy in a store. It's brewed right on the homestead. Known as Manure Tea, this homemade liquid fertilizer is especially popular for crops like cucumbers that thrive with consistent feeding. The process begins with fresh cow manure, which is collected and placed into a breathable container, typically a burlap sack or a mesh bag. This sack is then submerged in a barrel of water, usually rainwater, and allowed to steep for a week or so. During this time, the manure releases nutrients into the water, transforming it into a rich brown liquid full of nitrogen, phosphorus, and beneficial microbes. The Amish might stir the mixture occasionally to keep it oxygenated and ensure even brewing. After about 7 days, the tea is ready, but before using it, they always dilute it, usually at a ratio of 1 part tea to 10 parts water. This prevents burning the plants with too much nitrogen. Once it's properly diluted, the tea is poured directly around the base of cucumber plants, acting as both a fertilizer and a mild soil conditioner. This feeding is typically done every 10 days during the peak growing season. What makes manure tea so effective isn't just the nutrient content, it's also alive. The microbes in the tea help improve soil health and boost the plant's natural defenses. It's an elegant system. Waste from one part of the farm becomes nourishment for another. It's sustainable, cost-effective, and aligns perfectly with Amish values of self-sufficiency and low-impact living. Plus, cucumbers grown with this method often yield earlier, taste better, and show greater resistance to pests and diseases. Number 5, Airrated Compost Tea. Airrated compost tea is a powerful organic fertilizer used by the Amish to boost plant health and soil vitality without chemicals. To make it, they take well-aged compost, usually from a mix of manure and plant matter, and submerge it in a bucket or barrel of clean water. Then, using something as simple as a small aquarium air pump and tubing, they aerate the mixture for 24 to 48 hours. This oxygenation process encourages the rapid growth of beneficial microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, and protozoa. These microbes are key players in breaking down nutrients and making them more available to plants. After brewing, the liquid is strained and applied as a foliar spray or poured at the base of crops like cabbage, tomatoes, and peppers. Within days, gardeners often notice deeper green leaves and stronger growth. Unlike synthetic fertilizers, this tea doesn't damage soil life. Instead, it enriches it. Amish families often prepare this tea in batches, especially during the growing season, using it every 1 to 2 weeks. They'll even adjust the recipe by adding molasses, fish emulsion, or seaweed extract to further boost microbial activity. The result is a completely natural tonic that supports disease resistance and long-term soil fertility. Number 6. wood ash water. Wood ash water is one of the simplest yet most effective natural soil amendments in the Amish gardener's toolkit. After cleaning out their wood stoves or fireplaces, they collect the fine, powdery ash, ensuring it's from untreated, unpainted wood, and use it to create a nutrient-rich infusion. They mix about 1 cup of ash into a 5-gallon bucket of rainwater, stir it, and let it sit overnight. The result is a gentle alkaline solution packed with potassium, calcium, and trace minerals. Tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants particularly love this treatment, as potassium supports flowering and fruiting, while calcium prevents common problems like blossom end rot. The Amish also use ash water to help reduce soil acidity, especially in areas where rain leaches out key nutrients. Because it's mild and slow-acting, it doesn't burn plant roots and can be applied regularly throughout the season. Some will even use it as a foliar spray, although ground application is more common. While commercial growers often overlook wood ash, the Amish value it as a free, renewable resource that fits perfectly with their low-waste, off-grid philosophy. It's also completely safe when used correctly and adds a valuable layer of resilience to the home garden. Number 7. Homemade biochar. Biochar is an ancient soil additive that the Amish have adapted for modern off-grid farming. They make it by burning hardwoods like oak or maple in a process called pyrolysis. This means burning the wood in a low-oxygen environment to create a stable form of carbon instead of ash. To do this, they use metal barrels with lids and vents, which allow the wood to smolder without igniting fully. After several hours, the result is a porous, lightweight charcoal that's then crushed into smaller pieces. But raw biochar isn't ready for the soil just yet. The Amish charge it first by soaking it in compost tea, liquid manure, or worm castings for several days. This step allows the biochar to absorb nutrients and beneficial microbes. When added to garden beds, typically at a rate of 1 liter per square meter, it acts like a sponge, improving moisture retention and nutrient availability. The effects are long-term. Biochar can remain active in the soil for decades, helping reduce irrigation needs and supporting plant roots during dry spells. It also lowers soil acidity and improves microbial life, making it a foundational element in many Amish gardens focused on long-term sustainability. Number 8. Deep bedding compost. Deep bedding is a passive composting technique that transforms livestock waste into fertile garden soil without heavy labor. During winter, Amish farmers line barn floors with straw, creating a thick cushion that's added to weekly as manure and urine accumulate. This layering keeps animals warm and dry, while the organic material underneath begins a slow composting process. By spring, the bedding is a dense, semi-decomposed mat full of nutrients and beneficial microbes. Instead of moving it to a compost pile, Amish gardeners transport this manure mat directly to garden beds. Laid across the soil, it serves as both mulch and fertilizer. The straw conserves moisture and suppresses weeds, while the manure releases nitrogen and organic matter as it continues to break down. Some will top it with a thin layer of finished compost or soil before planting. It's particularly effective for heavy feeders like squash, corn, or tomatoes. This method reduces waste, saves labor, and makes full use of available resources. It's also an example of how the Amish integrate animal husbandry with crop production, closing nutrient loops and maintaining fertility without any store-bought inputs. Number 9. Rolled rye cover crops. Cover cropping is a staple in Amish gardening, and rye is one of their favorites due to its cold tolerance and weed suppression. But instead of tilling it into the soil come spring, they use a technique called rolling or crimping. When the rye reaches the milk stage, when its seed heads are full but still soft, they take a simple tool like a wooden board or a homemade roller and press the rye flat onto the soil surface. This kills the rye without chopping it up and creates a thick organic mulch layer. The mat helps retain soil moisture, prevent weed growth, and regulate soil temperature. Then, they transplant crops like pumpkins or squash directly into the mat, cutting small holes through it to insert seedlings. The dying rye releases nutrients slowly, while the dense straw mulch keeps the weeds at bay for the rest of the season. This method eliminates the need for chemical herbicides, reduces soil disturbance, and adds organic matter, all while giving crops a clean, protected start. It's a clear example of how Amish methods blend timing, observation, and resourcefulness into simple but powerful farming strategies. Number 10. Bird Patrol with Gourds. Amish gardeners use birds as a natural form of pest control by creating gourd birdhouses around their gardens. They grow bottle gourds during the summer, then harvest and dry them out over the fall and winter. Once hollowed and cleaned, the gourds are hung on fence posts, trees, or poles at garden edges. Wrens, chickadees, and tree swallows are frequent visitors, especially wrens, which are small but incredibly efficient at clearing pests. A single wren family can eat up to 500 insects a day, including caterpillars, beetles, and other garden pests. This dramatically reduces the need for sprays or traps. The Amish love this method because it works quietly and constantly all season long. It's also fully renewable and integrated into the garden's ecosystem. The gourd birdhouses last for years and add a rustic charm that's both functional and aesthetic. This strategy supports biodiversity, it keeps the garden lively with beneficial wildlife, and avoids the need for any synthetic pesticides. It's a perfect fit for their philosophy. Work with nature, not against it. Number 11. Living fences from sunflowers. Sunflowers aren't just beautiful, they're practical in an Amish garden. In early May, they sow a line of sunflower seeds around their vegetable beds, especially along borders that need a little wind protection or visual structure. As the sunflowers grow tall and sturdy, they become living stakes for pole beans and other climbing plants. After about 4 weeks, they plant beans at the base of each sunflower. The vines twist up the stalks naturally, eliminating the need for trellises or poles. This combo saves materials, reduces clutter, and makes harvesting easier. Plus, sunflowers attract bees and other pollinators, which boost overall yields. The shade provided by the sunflower leaves also helps protect more delicate crops growing below. At season's end, sunflower heads provide seeds for both humans and birds, while the stalks can be composted or used in winter fires. It's a full-circle solution that's low effort and high reward, perfectly embodying Amish values of efficiency, beauty, and harmony with the land. Number 12. Clover between potato rows. Amish gardeners often use white clover as a living mulch between rows of potatoes, and it's a surprisingly powerful technique. After the potatoes are planted, they seed clover in the walking paths and leave it to grow as the season progresses. This clover does a few things all at once. It outcompetes weeds, fixes atmospheric nitrogen into the soil, thanks to its symbiotic relationship with rhizobium bacteria, and provides a soft mat to walk on during harvest. They don't mow it with machines either, just a simple sickle or scythe to keep it in check. When cut, the clippings are left right where they fall, forming a green mulch that slowly decomposes and feeds the soil further. Unlike synthetic fertilizers or plastic weed barriers, this method actually builds soil health while reducing labor. It also keeps the soil cool and moist under the hot summer sun, helping the potato roots thrive. Plus, white clover attracts pollinators and beneficial insects, so while it's low effort, the benefits stack up fast. It's one of those set it and forget it strategies that really showcases the Amish preference for natural systems, doing the heavy lifting over brute force gardening. Number 13. Clay pot irrigation. This technique, known traditionally as olla irrigation, is an ancient method that the Amish still put to good use, especially in drier parts of the country or during long stretches without rain. The idea is simple. Take an unglazed terracotta pot, bury it in the soil next to your plant, with just the rim sticking out, and fill it with water. Because terracotta is porous, water slowly seeps out through the walls and directly into the soil, right at the root level. This method prevents surface evaporation and ensures the plants get steady, deep hydration. The Amish love it because it's efficient, nearly hands-off, and perfect for conserving water. Some estimates say it can reduce water use by up to 70%. In a world of drip systems and timers, this low-tech solution is elegant and incredibly effective. You can even use lids or flat stones to cover the pots and reduce mosquito breeding or debris falling in. It's especially useful in kitchen gardens or in areas with irregular rainfall. No hoses, no waste, just consistent moisture where it matters most. You plant once, bury your olla, and your crops thank you all season long. Number 14. Planting by the moon. While it might sound like folklore, many Amish communities still plan their planting schedules according to the phases of the moon, and they swear by it. The principle is that the moon's gravitational pull affects moisture levels in both soil and plants, much like it affects tides. During the waxing moon, from new to full, they plant above-ground crops, leafy greens like broccoli, lettuce, and spinach. The idea is that as the moon grows, upward sap flow is strongest, supporting vibrant leafy growth. Conversely, during the waning moon, from full to new, root crops like carrots, potatoes, and onions are planted when energy is said to move downward into the earth. This rhythm is followed not just out of tradition, but from generations of observation and results. Even those skeptical of astrology admit the practice seems to align with better germination and stronger plants. Amish calendars often come with moon phase guides built in, and older farmers teach younger ones to read the sky alongside the soil. Whether you believe in lunar influence or not, the pattern provides a rhythm that encourages attentiveness and timing, two qualities at the heart of successful gardening. Number 15. Heirloom seed stewardship. One of the quiet cornerstones of Amish agriculture is their fierce dedication to saving heirloom seeds. Every growing season, families carefully select the best specimens from their crops. Corn with the straightest rows, tomatoes with the deepest color, squash with the richest flavor, and harvest seeds by hand. These seeds are dried, stored in cloth bags, and kept in cool, dry attic spaces, often labeled with handwritten notes on lineage or performance. The key here is continuity. Some of these varieties have been grown and improved for generations, sometimes centuries. By avoiding commercial hybrid seeds, they maintain full control over their food sources and ensure that each plant is adapted to their exact local conditions. Soil, climate, pests. No patents, no chemicals, no dependency on big agriculture. Just old-fashioned selection and storage. The result is crops that are often more flavorful, more resilient, and genetically diverse enough to withstand disease outbreaks or environmental stress. Many Amish farmers also swap seeds within the community, creating a decentralized but highly effective gene bank. For them, it's not just gardening, it's a kind of stewardship, preserving not only food security but also a living history encoded in every seed. Number 16. Low-impact tillage. The Amish don't shy away from hard labor, but when it comes to working the soil, they're careful not to overdo it. Instead of deep plowing, which can destroy soil structure, dry out topsoil, and harm earthworm populations, they rely on lighter, more targeted tools. One is the horse-drawn drag harrow, which scratches the surface just enough to prepare a seedbed without flipping the soil. Another is a simple hand tool known in some communities as a plascorez, a kind of flat cutter that slices just under the surface to remove weeds without disturbing the layers underneath. This no-turn method keeps organic matter and microbial life where it belongs, allowing fungi, bacteria, and invertebrates to do their jobs. It also minimizes erosion and preserves the natural water retention of the soil. Earthworms, which are essential for aeration and fertility, stay protected and multiply freely. Over time, the soil becomes more sponge-like, better at absorbing rain and holding nutrients. For the Amish, who view the land as something to be passed down, not exploited, this technique aligns perfectly with their long-term thinking. It's not about speed, it's about sustainability and letting nature set the pace. Number 17. Threeyear rotation. Corn, soy, wheat, plus clover. This rotation system might sound simple, but It's one of the smartest and most efficient ways to keep soil fertile without relying on synthetic fertilizers. The idea is to rotate what you grow on each plot of land across 3 years. Corn in year 1, soybeans in year 2, and wheat paired with clover in year 3. Why this combo? Each crop plays a unique role in supporting soil health. Corn is a heavy feeder. It takes a lot of nitrogen from the soil. Following it with soy is strategic because soybeans are legumes, and they naturally fix nitrogen back into the soil thanks to the rhizobia bacteria that live on their roots. This balances things out. By year 3, when you grow wheat alongside clover, you're giving the land a bit of a break. Wheat doesn't demand much, and clover covers the soil, preventing erosion while quietly replenishing nutrients, especially nitrogen, even further. Clover also helps by crowding out weeds and adding organic matter when it's tilled, under, or mowed. Many Amish farmers simply mow the clover a few times through the season, letting the cut material drop and decompose as a green manure. No waste, no extra steps. What makes this system really shine is how self-regulating it is. Over time, the rotation helps prevent pest and disease buildup. You're not planting the same crop over and over, which gives soil pests and pathogens less chance to get comfortable. It also reduces the need for herbicides and even tilling, since the clover keeps weeds down and supports soil structure. It's low input, low cost, and grounded in observation. Amish communities often document results season to season, sometimes with nothing more than pencil and paper, passing on these successful patterns. It's not about high-tech tools, it's about letting the land breathe and recover naturally. Over time, soil under this rotation gets healthier, retains water better, and grows more resilient. That's why, even with limited outside inputs, yields stay strong year after year. Number 18. Homemade insect soap. You won't find chemical sprays in an Amish garden. When pests like aphids or whiteflies show up, they turn to a time-tested solution made from simple kitchen staples. The formula? Just warm water, a bar of natural soap, often homemade, or a sliver of Castile soap, and a spoonful of lard or vegetable oil. Here's how it works. The soap breaks down the protective coating on soft-bodied insects like aphids, essentially suffocating them. The lard or oil helps the mixture stick to the leaves, giving it just enough staying power to do its job without lingering too long. When it rains, the mixture washes off easily, which is actually a feature, not a bug. No residue means it's safe for pollinators like bees and butterflies once dry. To apply, the Amish usually mix the solution in a bucket or jug and pour it into a handheld sprayer. Then it's all about a targeted application, early morning or late afternoon when the sun's not too harsh. They avoid spraying blooms to protect the bees and focus on the underside of leaves where bugs like to hide. It's not about nuking the entire garden. It's about gentle, focused care. One of the best parts of this method is how cheap and accessible it is. You're not buying $20 bottles of insecticide. You're using what you already have at home. That fits right in with the Amish philosophy of simplicity, self-reliance, and safety. And if you're into organic gardening, this solution checks every box. Farmers sometimes customize the soap spray with extras like garlic or hot pepper to deter larger pests or curious animals, but the core recipe stays the same. And while it may not give you instant results like a commercial chemical, with regular use and good timing, it keeps pest populations in check and avoids harming beneficial insects. It's one of those tricks you might overlook until you try it, and then wonder how you ever managed without it. Number 19. Rabbit-powered vermi compost. In the Amish world, efficiency doesn't mean high-tech. It means nothing goes to waste. A perfect example of this is how they combine rabbit keeping with worm composting, using a setup that's brilliantly low maintenance and incredibly productive. It starts with a simple 2-level system. A rabbit hutch is placed directly over a vermicomposting bin filled with red wiggler worms. As the rabbits go about their day, their droppings, along with bits of hay or leftover food, fall through the floor of the cage into the bin below. Red worms absolutely love rabbit manure. It's already pretty balanced in carbon and nitrogen, so it doesn't need to rest or compost first like cow or horse manure often does. The worms get right to work, breaking it down into fine, rich humus packed with nutrients. This worm compost, or castings, is gardening gold. It's fluffy, dark, and full of beneficial microbes that help plants absorb nutrients better. Amish farmers use it sparingly, just a handful in a planting hole or as a top dressing on rows of vegetables. It boosts plant health and resilience, especially for root crops and leafy greens. The beauty of this method is how sustainable it is. Rabbits are easy to feed and reproduce quickly. They're also quiet and don't take up much space. Meanwhile, the worms reproduce on their own, and the whole system requires very little human input once it's up and running. There's no smell, no heavy lifting, just a small cycle of life producing constant benefits. You'll often see these bins tucked into barn corners, under shelves, or near garden sheds. They don't need much room or attention, and the payoff is massive. Even small households can run a similar setup and reduce waste while improving their soil. For the Amish, this is more than a clever trick. It's a philosophy. Animals feed the soil feeds the plants, and the plants feed the people. Everything is connected and nothing is wasted. Number 20. Osage orange hedges. Known locally as hedge apples, Osage orange trees are an old-school fencing solution still used by many Amish families. They're not just barriers, they're multifunctional living tools. When planted closely together and trimmed regularly, these thorny shrubs form dense, almost impenetrable hedges around garden plots, pastures, or fields. Originally used before barbed wire was common, Osage orange still holds up as a natural alternative to modern fencing. The trees are tough. They tolerate drought, poor soil, and cold weather. Once established, they form thick, interwoven branches with big thorns that keep out deer, stray livestock, and even people. No need for metal, plastic, or electric fencing, but the benefits go way beyond security. In winter, these hedges catch drifting snow, helping insulate compost piles and garden beds. In summer, they cast long, cooling shadows, useful for protecting compost heaps from drying out, or for giving a break to heat-sensitive crops like lettuce. Osage orange also encourages wildlife diversity. Birds nest in its branches, and beneficial insects find refuge in its bark and leaves. Some farmers even chip fallen branches and mix the wood into mulch. Although the wood is so dense and rot-resistant, it's more often used for fence posts and tool handles. Planting a hedge is a long-term investment. It takes a few years to mature, but once it does, it needs minimal maintenance. Just the occasional trimming to keep its shape. Amish families often pass down planting lines and hedge care tips, seeing the trees as part of the homestead's permanent infrastructure. The fruit itself, the hedge apple, isn't really edible, but it's not wasted. Some people believe it helps repel pests when stored in basements or barns, though that's more folklore than fact. Either way, the Osage orange hedge stands as a reminder of how the Amish use what nature offers, not just for function, but for resilience. It's part windbreak, part fence, part microclimate manager. And in true Amish style, it doesn't need electricity, just patience, smart planting, and a respect for what grows on its own.